Hello students, welcome to my chemistry class. In today's class, we will be going over the revision assignment. So you had the first question where you were asked to calculate the number of hydrogen atoms in MgSO4, magnesium sulfate. So if you look here, there are 4 oxygen atoms. So the answer is going to be 4. Next, balancing chemical equation. You will definitely get some questions on balancing chemical equation. So this was the equation you see P4O10 and water that gives rise to H3PO4. Now, if you look here, you had 2 hydrogen and here there was 3 hydrogen. And phosphorus was 1 here and phosphorus was 4 here. So first we can balance the phosphorus. So we multiply 4 here. But in the process, you have changed the number of hydrogen. So hydrogen is 12. So you multiply by 6 to make it 12. So your answer is going to be 1 P4O10 plus 6 water is 4 H3PO4. Have a look at the next question. This is regarding the conversion factor. In the equation, you have 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O, that gives rise to C6H12O6 plus 6 O2. What is the conversion factor of CO2 to C6H12O6? CO2 to C6H12O6. So if you see 1 mole of C6H12O6 is equal to 6 moles of carbon dioxide. So your conversion factor is 1:6. Then identifying and calculating molar mass of a compound. What tool is required for this? In order to calculate the molar mass, we use the periodic table. So your answer is going to be periodic table. What is the molar mass of P4O10? So you look at the periodic table, and when you look at the periodic table, the mass of phosphorus is 30.97. If you see 13.974, I've rounded to 30.97, multiplied by 4, because there are 4 atoms of phosphorus, plus 15.99 times 10, that's the mass of oxygen, and you add them and you get 283.78. Level 4, identifying and calculating percentage composition. So what is the percentage composition by mass of each element in C6H12O6? So first what you do is you find the molar mass of C6H12O6. So that gives you 6 times 12, carbon 12, that's rounded, hydrogen 1 times 12, oxygen 16 times 6, because there are 6 atoms of oxygen. You add them, you get 180. And the question is, what is the percentage composition? So if you see the carbon is 72 over 180 multiplied by 100, that gives you 40%. For hydrogen, that's 12. So 12 over 180 multiplied by 100, that gives you 6.67%. And oxygen, that's 96 over 180 multiplied by 100, and that gives you 53.3%. Now let's look at level 4 questions. Write the steps below to convert 4 moles of water to grams. Now 1 mole of water, you find what is the molar mass, and that you get hydrogen is 1.008 times 2, because there are 2 atoms of hydrogen plus 1 atom of oxygen. So when you add them, you get 18.01. So 18.01 is the mass of 1 mole of water. But you are given 4 moles of water. So what you do is multiply 4 times 18.01, that's 72.04. Next part of the question is, write the step below to convert 18 grams of water to moles. So in order to calculate the moles, you have the mass divided by the molar mass. When you have mass over molar mass, you get the number of moles, which comes out to be 0.99, which is approximately 1 mole. Then the third part of the question is, convert 1.5 moles of water to particles of water. Now, you know that 1 mole has the Avogadro's number of particles. So that is 6.02 times 10 to the power 23. So you multiply 1.5 times 6.02 times 10 to the power 23, and that gives you 9.03 times 10 raised to the power 23. Let's look at level 5. Write the steps to convert 6.022 times 10 raised to the power 23 particles of water to grams of water. Now, this is equal to the Avogadro's number. So you have 6.022 times 10 to the power 23, that is 1 mole. Now, 1 mole of water is 18.01 gram. That's hydrogen H2O. So you just look at the periodic table and you have H2O, which is 18.01 grams. So because it is 1 mole of water and 1 mole of water weighs 18.01 grams, hence the answer for this question is 18.01 grams. Then write the steps to convert 18 grams of water into grams of C6H12O6. So you're trying to convert the grams of water to the grams of glucose. So you see 18 grams of water, that is 0.998 moles. How? 18 divided by 18.01. Now, 6 moles of water, if you see 6 moles of water gives 1 moles of C6H12O6. So you are supposed to find 0.998 moles of water will give you how many moles of C6H12O6. So that would be 0.998 divided by 6, which is 0.1663. And since they're asking you to calculate the mass in grams, you multiply the number of moles with the molar mass, which is 180, and that gives you approximately 30 grams of C6H12O6. Level 6, analyzing empirical formula. So plexiglass has a percentage composition of 59.9% carbon, 8.06% hydrogen, 32% oxygen, and write the steps to solve the problem. So what you'll do is you find the percentage of carbon and divide that by the molar mass. So technically you're trying to calculate the number of moles. So because this I'm assuming as the mass, we are assuming the total mass is 100. So if the mass of carbon is 59.9 divided by 12.01, that gives you 4.98. For hydrogen, 8.06 divided by 1.01, that is 7.98. For oxygen, 32 divided by 15.99, that's 2.01. Now, once you have these ratios, you divide them by the smallest number. And the smallest here is 2.01. So you divide each one of them by 2.01. And here you get 2.47, which could be rounded to 2.5. Then here you get 3.97, which could be rounded to 4. And here this could be rounded to 1. So the ratio is 2.5 is to 4 is to 1. You cannot have a decimal. So you multiply everything by 2. So this becomes 5, this becomes 8, and this becomes 2. So your empirical formula would be C5H8O2. The other questions would be solved in the next video. Good luck.